This graph was compiled using figures from the Caltrans website. Here you can see that traffic north of Willits is really very small, especially compared with traffic south of us. Like, for instance, there's Santa Rosa with 120,000 up there. This traffic north of Willits is the through traffic. Actually, it's a little more than the through traffic, because some of the traffic is people coming and going from Laytonville and Covelo who don't go all the way to Ukiah, but never mind that. It works for a basic idea of what the traffic on a bypass would amount to. The number, when translated to vehicles per day, is about 8,000 vehicles. You can see it has not increased at all since 1992. Here is a picture of what 8,000 vehicles per day looks like. This one. These pictures are taken from a webcam that lives 1 mile north of Willits and posts a picture every half hour or so. These pictures were taken at 5:30 p.m. This is rush hour. Caltrans designed a 4-lane freeway because they claim this 2-lane road is not good enough. A 4-lane freeway is designed to carry 40,000 vehicles per day. It reaches capacity at 80,000 vehicles per day. Can you see how it is overbuilt? All the rhetoric in the world does not change what we see on the ground. One poorly designed intersection in a small town of under 5,000 people does not justify this amazing expenditure of money and loss of 1/3 of the farmland in Little Lake Valley.
Many in the community have expressed frustration that at this late hour some residents are choosing to voice their opposition. I researched this claim and found that in the time the public was allowed to comment on the record was back in 2002 during the EIR process. There was a supplemental EIR, but the scope was limited to the topic of endangered grasses. There have been open houses held by Caltrans, but these did not allow for public statements to be recorded. I mention this because some of the people protesting have located here after their ability to affect this project. Similarly, many lifelong residents have lost track of the current project, its status after a decade or more of revisions, funding allocations, funding retractions, project cost increases, and scope changes. Even today, I talk with constituents who are not aware that there is no Highway 20 exit and that the funded phase only has 2 unseparated lanes.
Clearly, there's a large percentage of people who are strongly opposed to this bypass. And what's it going to take, for us to be heard? We, the people, should not be driven to such extremes. We're putting our lives on hold. We're putting them on the line. We're tree-sitting. We're protesting. We're getting arrested. Is this the only way we can be heard? I'm suddenly a criminal because I care enough to do something.
I have witnessed the protocols and the surveys that were carefully done by SHN violated in sight of the California Fish and Game on video. All of these protocols are being violated, whether they have been obtained legally or not. They're now not being enforced.
A rational approach would have been to start by restriping the part of 101 Main Street that is the bottleneck. I mean, that's 1/2 of 1% of the cost of the 2-lane bypass, not even a 4-lane bypass. The next step, put a Railroad Avenue-Bechtel Road connection. That would take at least as much traffic off of Main Street as the bypass would.
The public process for the project was long and grueling, but it is complete. The EIR was certified in 2006. Permits and construction funding secured 1 year ago, and construction is now underway. I respectfully caution the Board of Supervisors from engaging in debate on the merits of the project when the appropriate period for debate has long since expired. Applicable procedures have been followed, and now construction is underway.
The alternatives have been floating around and asked over and over again by the citizens to be taken seriously, have been dismissed, and were dismissed early on. This one, the Bechtel Road Railroad Avenue connection, finally was put together in a very credible conceptual plan. But I was at the city council meeting when Mr. Dow came and advised the city council not to come to MCOG asking funding for this project until after the bypass was built. So over the years, the serious alternatives were never brought to the public, never analyzed, and so as a result, it has always been Willits, you either suffer with the traffic congestion that you have, or you get this 4-lane mega bypass that has the capacity, by the way, for 40 to 60,000 vehicles a day going around Willits at 70 miles an hour. Ludicrous, not a scenario any of you want. I know that. You all consider yourself conservationists, all care about the environment of Mendocino County. Give us some time, 2 to 3 weeks, to sit down with you, to talk seriously, analytically, quantitatively about these alternatives. Let's come up with a real solution.
For 20 years, I asked people, what's happening with the bypass? Oh, it's never going to happen. It's caught up in court cases, there's a lot of controversy, and so that's one reason why it has come to this point when we are finally learning about what's happened. And I'm one of the ignorant ones until 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago when Warbler got up in that tree very bravely to say to the world, we must stop an injustice that is going to happen to this town. I had no idea what the bypass was about.
I'm also an avid fisherman. Okay, I live on Outlet Creek. I'm not allowed to have a fishing license on Outlet Creek. But the Fish and Game and Army Corps of Engineers have given the biggest landfill permit to fill in the headwaters of Outlet Creek, which is the longest salmon and steelhead natural run without a hatchery or a dam on it left still intact in California. It's Montana to me, Mendocino County. And we're going to destroy it. For what? I don't understand. I commute my kids every morning to school. I don't even like to drive home past 10 o'clock because I get pulled over because I'm the only car on the road. Only this morning I drove to town at 9 in the morning. I counted the cars I passed. Two. From Covelo Road to Willits, I passed 2 cars. 2 cars, okay? And this is 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday afternoon, okay? I mean, I just don't understand $300 million for half of a project without an exit to Highway 20.
You know, this here is my New Orleans child, and Willits resembles post-Katrina New Orleans right now under martial law. I couldn't sleep the other night because it's very unnerving being surrounded by men with guns. And I don't know since when it takes that kind of firepower to build a freeway. And if you're wondering, you know, I have a degree in environmental management and environmental molecular toxicology. But if you're wondering where the support, you know, is coming from for this sort of construction, look at those guns. Because that's gangster politics. I know when I've seen it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm always concerned when I hear allegations or see something in writing that I think is a bit bogus. So in this case, regarding the letter that you're being asked to sign that claims the public process is through, I'd like to ask if anyone wants to claim that those weren't the same words said in San Francisco in the 1950s when the Embarcadero Freeway was approved. It lasted 40 years, and the public process eventually got reactivated, and the whole thing was undone at a later date. San Francisco showed at that time that a mistake can be remedied, although with the appropriate expenses of building it and taking it down. And I think you have the opportunity to prevent a mistake from being made and that large, millions being spent before that mistake is made. And I certainly think that should be considered.
I went to a number of meetings about the bypass, probably 1.5 to 2 years ago when there were public hearings. I found unanimous support against the bypass. There were a lot of environmental issues brought up, and frankly, I felt that after all the studies were made and it showed that a great majority of the traffic was going to brook trails and would not even be impacted by the bypass, that the whole thing was dead in the water. And so I think there were a lot of people like me who were really shocked when it suddenly started up again, and when this money was found.
The mayor of Willits and the newest council person are on record opposing the bypass as currently designed. I served on the Willits Council from 2006 to 2010. I was then and still am opposed to the plan as currently designed. Had I not moved out of city limits and had served another term, the Willits City Council would actually have a majority opposed to the plan as currently designed.
You know, John Pinch has referenced these decisions were made in the 60s and the 80s, and you know, I wasn't here then, but I'm here now, and I'm against it now. And I think everybody's against it now. That should be obvious to you. And if anybody's for this bypass, where are they? They're not here today.